Most people think you need land, equipment, and years of savings to start a homestead. But I'm going to show you today how $500 changed everything for my family. And it can do the same for you. Right now, somewhere in America, there's a family paying $2,000 a month in groceries. Another one is spending $300 on produce alone, and half of it goes bad before Friday. People are stressed. Bills are climbing. And every single week, they walk past a backyard, a balcony, or a strip of dirt on the side of their house, and they don't see what I see. They don't see food. They don't see freedom. They don't see $500 working harder than any investment on Wall Street. But by the end of this video, you will. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that 3 years ago I was exactly where you might be right now. A regular house. A regular job. A patch of dead grass out back that hadn't grown anything worth eating in 20 years. And I made a decision. Not a big dramatic decision, just a quiet one. I said, I'm going to figure out how people fed themselves before grocery stores existed. And I'm going to do it on a budget so tight it would make a Depression-era farmer nod with respect. This is the Budget Homesteading Challenge. $500. One growing season. And a system so simple that anyone with a backyard, or even just a few containers on a porch, can follow it step by step. Stay with me here, because around the 7-minute mark I'm going to show you the one thing most beginner homesteaders skip that costs them everything in year one. You don't want to miss that. So let's talk about the money first. $500 sounds like nothing when you think about raised beds, irrigation systems, and the fancy organic fertilizers at the garden center. That's because you've been looking at homesteading through the wrong lens. The old farmers, the Appalachian families, the Dust Bowl survivors, the Native American communities who fed entire villages off small plots, none of them went to a garden store. They used what they had. And that principle is the foundation of everything we're going to do today. Here's how the $500 breaks down. And pay attention, because every single dollar here is working. First, $50 for seeds. Not seedlings, seeds. This is one of the most important distinctions a beginning homesteader can make. A tomato seedling at the nursery costs $3, $4, sometimes $5. A packet of heirloom tomato seeds costs $2 and gives you 30 plants. Same math applies to beans, squash, kale, peppers, and herbs. You buy seeds once. You save seeds at the end of the season. And next year, your seed cost is $0. That's not a tip. That's a philosophy. Next, $100 for soil amendments. Not bags of potting mix. Not chemical fertilizers. We're talking about what every old-timer in every farming community across America knew by heart. Compost. Wood chips. Aged manure if you can get it free from a neighbor with chickens. Worm castings if you want to spend a little extra. The goal here is to take whatever ground you have, compacted clay, sandy mess, dead suburban soil, and start turning it into something alive. Because here's the thing nobody tells you at the garden center, the secret isn't in the plant. It's in the soil. Always. A mediocre seed in incredible soil outperforms an incredible seed in dead dirt every single time. Now, $150 for structure. This is where most people either overspend wildly or underspend so badly their whole system collapses by June. You don't need a fancy raised bed kit from a big box store. What you need is function. 2 or 3 simple beds made from untreated lumber, old pallets, or even stacked cinder blocks. A few stakes and some twine for trellising. A basic hose or a couple of watering cans. A good trowel and a hoe, tools you'll still be using in 20 years if you buy once and buy right. The Amish figured this out generations ago. Simple tools, maintained well, outlast every gadget ever marketed to gardeners. That leaves $200. And this is the part that separates the homesteaders who quit after one season from the ones who are still going strong a decade later. That $200 goes into preservation. A simple canner. Add mason jars. A dehydrator if you find a used one at a garage sale, or just learn the old way, the way families in Kansas and Tennessee and West Virginia did it for 100 years, drying food in the sun with nothing more than a screen and patience. Because growing food is only half the equation. Keeping it, storing it, preserving it, building a pantry that carries you through winter, that's the other half. And most beginners never even think about it until October, when their garden is producing more zucchini than they can eat and they don't know what to do. Here's where we hit the turning point. And I want you to lean in for this one. The number one mistake I see from beginning homesteaders, the thing that kills more gardens than any pest, any drought, any bad seed, is trying to grow everything at once. I get it. The seed catalogs are beautiful. The YouTube thumbnails are gorgeous. You want tomatoes and peppers and melons and sweet corn and sunflowers and 15 types of herbs all in the first year. And what happens? You get overwhelmed. Nothing gets the attention it needs. You spend more time managing chaos than actually gardening. And by August you're burned out and wondering why you ever started. The old farmers had a rule. Grow what feeds you most. Master 3 crops before you add a 4th. In the American South they called it the 3 sisters, corn, beans, and squash, planted together because they support each other the way a good family does. Corn grows tall and gives the beans something to climb. Beans fix nitrogen in the soil and feed the corn. Squash spreads low and wide, shading the ground, keeping moisture in, keeping weeds out. 3 plants. 1 system. It fed the Cherokee Nation. It fed the Iroquois Confederacy. It can feed your family too, and it'll cost you almost nothing to plant once you understand it. Pick your 3. Maybe it's tomatoes, beans, and winter squash. Maybe it's kale, garlic, and potatoes, the holy trinity of cold climate survival gardening. Maybe it's herbs and leafy greens because you live in a small space and you're starting with containers. It doesn't matter what 3 you choose. What matters is that you go deep instead of wide. You learn those plants. You watch them. You talk to them. I know that sounds strange, but every experienced grower I've ever met does it. You notice when they're struggling before it becomes a crisis. That intimacy, that attention, that's the skill that turns a beginner into a real grower. And here's the bonus tip I promised you. The one thing almost nobody talks about in beginner homesteading content. Perennials. Almost every video you'll find focuses on annual vegetables, plants you grow from seed, harvest, and replant every single year. And annuals are great. But the homesteaders who built real food security, the ones who survived hard winters and dry summers and everything in between, they always planted perennials too. Asparagus that comes back every spring for 20 years with zero effort. Rhubarb that your grandchildren will still be harvesting. Fruit trees that start small and slow and then, 5 years in, suddenly produce more than you can eat in a season. Perennials are the long game. And the beautiful thing about the long game is that every year it gets easier, not harder. $500. 1 growing season. And a mindset shift that is honestly worth more than any seed or tool you'll ever buy, the shift from consumer to producer. From depending on a system to building your own. That shift is quiet at first. You notice it one morning when you walk outside and cut a handful of fresh herbs for breakfast and you realize you didn't pay anything for that. Or when you open your pantry in February and see jars of tomatoes you put up yourself in August and you feel something that is hard to name but feels a lot like freedom. That's what this is really about. Not just saving money, though you will. Not just eating better, though you will. It's about rebuilding a skill set that your great-grandparents had and the modern world told you to forget. It's about proving to yourself, in dirt and sunlight and real food, that you are capable of more than you think. And it really does start, with $500 and the decision to begin. If this hits something in you, drop a comment below and tell me, what's the first crop you're going to grow? I read every single one. And if you're new here, hit subscribe, because every week I'm bringing you the old techniques, the forgotten methods, and the honest truth about growing your own food in the modern world. This community is just getting started, and I want you in it. Hit like if this gave you something real today. Now go outside and look at that patch of ground differently. Why that right there? That's your future pantry. And it starts right now.